Hello, my name is Laura Bennis. I am the owner of Knitpickyandhooked here in Monroe, Michigan. I'm getting ready to start a brioche workshop, and I wanted to try and have a few video tutorials that my friends that are in the workshop could go and see online when they are at home versus in the shop. I am using my Likey interchangeable shorties tips. These are US size 8s, 3.5-inch tips. This is stuff that we do carry in the shop. Beautiful case. All the cables and everything. So this is the driftwood set. I am also using the classic vintage in their black worsted weight Barocco, and then this one is a hand dyed by Missy, the owner of This Craft or That. Here's her label. I ripped it as I was trying to unfold it. It's called Down by the Bayou, 100% superwash merino wool. All right, so the pattern I am going off of today is the worsted brioche bandana cowl by Lavanya. And it does call for 16-inch. I did use 24-inch on mine, and it worked perfectly fine. And you really want to have two contrasting colors because you really need to be able to see your stitches and your yarn overs. All right, so I'm going to cast on my stitches because this is a paid for pattern. I'm not going to tell you how many, but I really wanted to have a video to show people the little tricks and tips so they can remember it and revert back to it at home, refer back to it at home, and that'll help them. All right, here we go. See you in a little bit. So I am going to show you a little bit of each part. That way, if you guys need a refresher on something, this can help. I'm gonna push all my stuff out of the way. All right, so first off, I'm gonna do a long tail cast on. So you're gonna take a good amount of yarn for your tail, and then you're gonna put it over your thumb and index finger on your left hand. Your right hand, you're gonna have the needle. Gonna put it on top, and you're gonna swing it around and back up. That counts as stitch 1. Then you're going to tilt your left hand back, and you're gonna go from underneath through the circle, hook the closest thread on your pointer, and go back through your thumb. And then I do a little tug down on just my thumb because that's the one that needs to be tightened, not the pointer finger. So again, you're going underneath, hooking the one on your pointer, and back through. So I drop my thumb, and then I push the working yarn, or pull, whatever you want to call it. I guess it's more of a push. Okay, tilt, under, hook, back through, drop, or I pull my thumb out, and then I push the working yarn. And then I like to put my pointer finger right in front of that last stitch I did so that it gives it a nice stretch to the cast on. So under, hook, pull back through, push down, gives you automatically that nice gap. Move my finger, under, hook, pull back through. All right, so that's long tail cast on. I don't know if it's easier to show you from any other point of view. So again, put your pointer finger, thumb, and then my 3 fingers here hold both of those ends to give you tension. Right hand pointer finger on top so that your stitches don't fly off. All right, I'll see you back when I get all my stitches on. All right, so I'm gonna take a stitch marker. This is my s'more from Sweet Cherry 17. Isn't it adorable? So the first stitch I cast on is on the left. Last stitch is on the right. I'm going to slide the stitch marker on the right needle. Take my working yarn, pull the stitches all the way around. Whoops, make sure I don't have anything twisted. Like so. And I am just going to purl the first one, knit the second one, and repeat that pattern around the whole thing. So yarn to the front, yarn to the front. Purl the first one, yarn to the back, knit, front, to purl, back to knit, purl, knit. And this first row is going to be a little tight. I did not cast on as many stitches as the pattern called for, so mine's going to be a little tighter. I think this is the hardest row out of the whole pattern. Alright, so you know you did it right and you had the proper knits and purls when your last stitch is a knit. And it's gonna look loose because that's just the name of the game. Alright, slip the marker. What I do is keep the yarn to the front between each round. Alright, so now we are picking up color B. And we are doing slip one, yarn over, and knit one. All right, and we do that around. So what I do is yarn in the front. I lay the yarn right over the front of my work, like that. And what you're gonna do is slip one, so tail stays in the front, and it's gonna cross. So this is called a shaw. And so your stitch here that I'm slipping is a purl stitch. You can see the purl bump right there. That stitch is going to be slipped, and all other purl stitches in this row are going to be slipped. The yarn over goes over all the purl stitches and gets a shaw. So you're going to have always one color stitch and the opposite color for the shaw. Okay, so this is the first shaw, first stitch, purl stitch. We're slipping purlwise and we're putting a shaw on it, so bringing it from the front to the back. And then this knit stitch we're gonna knit. Okay, and then We need to put a shawl on this purl stitch, so we're going to set up by bringing the yarn to the front and then slipping it. And then the act of knitting this stitch puts the shawl on that slipped purl stitch. Now what I'm going to do is take my tail, which I didn't leave much of, and I am going to tie it to the tail of the black real fast, just to anchor it down. So that shawl stays on that first stitch. Okay, so we did a knit stitch with our color B. These look so good on camera. Okay, prep by bringing this yarn to the front, slipping that purl stitch purlwise, and then the act of knitting this next stitch puts the shawl on that slipped purl stitch. Yarn to the front, slip the next purl, and then knit. Yarn to the front, slip, and knit. All right, so again, here's a knit stitch that I knit with color B, yarn to the front, slip the purl, and in the process of knitting the next stitch, it puts a shawl on that stitch. So when you look at this, you have your first purl with a shawl, a single stitch, shawl, single stitch, shawl, single stitch, and so on. The shawls are one of each color, and then your single stitch is going to be whatever color you're using on that round. Slip the purl, knitting the knits. One of the common things I see is they're slipping the purl and then they're forgetting to do the yarn over, and so they're knitting that next stitch. So you have a correct stitch that has a shawl on it, the knit stitch that's in the color you're using, and then you have a single stitch that you slipped but you don't have the shawl on it, and then you have your knit stitch. So that is not right. The yarn is coming from the back like a color work, and you don't want that. So what I do is I just tink back the stitch, slip it back over, and then you can correct it. Yarn to the front, slip, and knit. Yarn to the front, slip, knit. And what I have is kind of a little mantra. Whoops! Oh no, I dropped my ball. A little mantra, and I just keep doing it. Yarn to the front, slip, knit. Yarn to the front, slip, and knit. Yarn to the front, slip, and knit. Yarn to the front, slip, knit. Yarn to the front, slip, knit. And you can see that this row is already loosening up. Yarn to the front, slip, knit. knit stitch, and then I yarn it to the front. Slip the marker. So this row, round 2, nope, yes, round 2, color A. So picking up, try not to get my colors all mixed around. So picking up color A, which is the black, and we are going to, it's called burp, so brioche purl. And the last round we slipped this, which you can tell because we have the shaw on it. This is a double stitch, or a stitch that's technically looks like 2 stitches, but it's actually counted as 1. So if I were to go around and count all these stitches, the yarn overs with the stitch is 1, the singles are 1. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. Hopefully that makes sense. So now the yarn's already in the front. We are going to purl. And then this is a little bit different because it's purls all the way across. We need to slip this single stitch first. Okay, and then we're going to put a shaw on it, and that brings it all the way back to the front, and then we're going to purl. Okay, so this one's a little bit different. It's slip, wrap, purl, slip, wrap, and purl. Because with it being already in the front, we can slip that stitch, and we're needing to set up for another purl, so we're going to wrap it and purl. So this one has a little bit of an extra stitch because the act of purling is not going to give us that yarn over because the yarn's already in the front. So slip, wrap, and purl. And hopefully that makes sense. So you can see that the main color that you're looking at, or the more stitches you see on top, is with the black. And that is because that's the color we're working with. So if I were to set this down and come back later and pick it up, and I can't remember whether I needed to use color A or color B, all I need to do is look at my work and say the most prominent color is the brown or the black. So on the next round, I need to do the contrasting color, which is the multicolored strand. So hopefully that will help too. Obviously I'm still using the black because I didn't finish the row. So we just did a purl, and if you notice, those are all knit stitches. So this round we're slipping the knits and purling the purls. So another thing I've noticed with some of my knitters is they like to scrunch up their work, so you can't really tell what your stitches are when you do that. So you have to kind of get out of the habit of pushing all those stitches, and you have to kind of pay attention, and sometimes they get pushed up on top of each other and you need to kind of play with the stitches to make sure that they're sitting correctly. So sometimes this stitch, which is a single, can kind of be crossed like that. So you just want to kind of play with it a little bit and get it, maybe tug it down a little bit to get to where you can see your stitches. So now you can see single, double, single, double. So slip in the knits, you're going to wrap it and then purl. Slip it, wrap it, purl. I'm gonna try the other way and see what it does. So slip, wrap, purl, slip, wrap, purl. I am not good for continental. Slip, wrap, and purl. So, slipping, wrapping, and then purling. Slip, wrap it, purl the next stitch. Slip, wrap it, purl. So a common mistake with the pearls is you slip it and then you purl. So again, you're getting 3 single stitches in a row, which is not good. And you have that yarn that's hanging out in the front that looks funky. So if you need to tink back, if you did a stitch that has the shawl on it, you need to go through, back through where the shawl is and the stitch, and then pull it off your needle. So back to where we have the purl. You purled, slipped, wrap, knit. Slip, or purl, I'm sorry, slip, wrap, purl. Slip, wrap, and purl. So again, I kind of look ahead and make sure. Here's my single stitch, there's my double, single, double, single, double, single, and then that brings us back to the beginning. Slip, wrap, purl. Slip, wrap, slip, wrap, slip, and then you wrap it, and that, because we purled, slipped, we don't have another purl stitch here, so when you wrap it, you want to make sure you keep it to the front to keep that wrapped stitch. So here's my marker, slip my marker. Now we're back to color B. So in the round 2-color brioche, you will always have wraps that are one of each color. Okay, and in this pattern, you're always going to be knitting with the same color and purling with the same color. So that, I think, helps with the rhythm of it, because my color B, which is my multicolored, I always know I'm going to be knitting. So the first row here is a purl, so, and a single stitch, so I know, okay, that one's going to be slipped, and my yarn's already all set in the front. And then my next stitch is a knit, so I know I'm going to go, and it's a wrapped stitch, so I know I'm going to go in and knit that. Then I need to bring it to the front to prepare my slip stitch and my shawl, so I can brioche knit that stitch. So the act of knitting a stitch with a shawl on it is called a brioche knit. Abbreviation is, I forgot, BRK, brioche knit. And then a brioche purl is BRP, brioche purl. All right, so here we go. Yarn to the front, slip and knit. Yarn to the front, slip. And the act of knitting brings the yarn from the front up and over and puts a shawl right on that stitch. Yarn to the front, slip and knit. Yarn to the front, slip and knit. So one of the reasons why I say with this pattern to do a 24-inch cable is to help get those stitches kind of spread out a little bit more so it's easier to see all of your stitches versus the 16-inch. And so I only cast it on, I don't know, 50 some stitches. On the 16-inch, and it works very well. So it becomes a really fun rhythm. And I like to tell myself what I'm doing. Yarn to the front, slip and knit. Yarn to the front, slip and knit. Yarn to the front, slip and knit. Oops. So hopefully you can kind of see a little bit of a pattern forming. You have your columns of knits and your columns of purls. Columns of knits, columns of purls. Oh, here's a really good example. This looks like a double stitch right here, but it's not. It's just my single stitch got pushed underneath of my shawl. And so what I do to understand what goes where is I follow up the rows, and that helps you distinguish which stitch goes where. We've been told, oh, I need to knit faster, or I'm slow. I don't believe in fast or slow knitters. I believe in everybody has their own speed, and you just need to be able to enjoy your knits. Yarn to the front, slip, knit. And look at that, we're back to the beginning already. So here's the last one that we got the yarn coming to the front for the next color. Even though we ended with a knit stitch and the yarn's in the back, I want you to bring it to the front and bring it down underneath the yarn you're getting ready to pick up. And that way it gets it out of the way and gets it prepped for the next row. Slip. My cute little stitch marker. Pick up my color A. Color A we're always purling with. Sorry. First stitch is supposed to be a purl. So we purl. Slip. Put your shawl on that. And purl. Slip. The yarn's already in the front, so you slip, wrap, and purl. Slip, wrap, and purl. Slip, wrap, and purl. All right, I'm going to do a few rows, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like with a few rows put on. Okay, so this is a little bit better where you can see what's going on. In this pattern, every 2 rows or every 2 passes equals 1 round. Okay, so 1 pass with the black, 1 pass with the color, the multicolor, equals 1 completed round. So you will have 1 V-stitch for every 2 passes. Okay, so this is what brioche looks like a little bit closer. You can see your V-stitches in the green and gray, and then when you tug down on the purl rows, you can see just a soft kiss of that multicolored in the background. And that's how you know you got it going good. And then when you flip it, it's reversible. So you see the V stitches in the black and your purl stitches in the multicolored with just a hint of the black running through it. So it makes for a fun, stretchy, light knit. So I am going to show you the black round and then a multicolor round. And then we're not going to be following the pattern to finish. So I'm going to show you on this video how we're going to finish this cowl. So once you get to the length that you like, we're going to bind off. But there's 1 row you need to do before you bind off. So I'm going to do a black row, and then you're going to do 1 more row of the colored in brioche. So slip, wrap, purl, slip, wrap, purl, slip, wrap, purl, wrap, purl, slipping the knits and wrapping it, and then purling. Slip, wrap it, purl. Slip, wrap it, purl. Slip it, wrap it, brioche purl. So I'm getting back around to the beginning. See, my other yarn's already in the front because that's where I put it when I finished the last round. Slip, wrap, purl. Slip, wrap, purl. Slip, wrap, purl. Slip in the last stitch and wrapping it. And then I'm going to tug the yarn to tighten up that last stitch from the previous round. Slip in the marker. Get my stitches situated. There we go. So this is a single one, and it's the opposite color that I'm working with, so we know we're going to be slipping. The next one's a wrapped stitch, and these are the knit rows, and it matches the color I'm doing. Did I say that right? The first stitch is a single stitch, and it's the opposite color that I'm using, so I know I need to wrap it. The knit column is the yarn that color I'm using, so I know I need to knit these 2. So I'm slipping, and in the act of knitting, it's putting a shawl on that stitch. Front, slip, knit, front, slipping purls, knitting knits, front, slip, knit, front, So kind of a recap. Single stitches are getting shaws put on them. Ones with shaws we're making into a single, whether it be a purl or a knit. And in this pattern, all the knit rows are my multicolored. All of my purl rows are my blacks. So it makes it very easy to track. Wrap, slip, and knit. Wrap, slip, and knit. Wrap, slip, and knit. I'm already coming around to the beginning again. All right. So pretend this is the length we want. All right. Now I can leave this one hanging in the back because I am done with that. I'm actually done with that now. So what we're gonna do, move the marker, and we're gonna go back to a single color 1x1 rib. So we're going to brioche purl to make it go down to 1 stitch, and then we're going to yarn to the back and knit. Yarn to the front, brioche purl. Yarn to the back and knit. This is going to feel super weird after inches and inches of brioche. So we're in the act of doing this, we are eliminating the shaws and we're going down to normal ribbing. Yarn to the back and knit. Go to the front and purl. Back, knit. Front, purl. Knit, front, purl. So once we go all the way around and do that, and there's no more shaws left, we're just going to bind off like normal. And I will show you how to do that. Knit, turn to the front and purl. Back and knit, front and purl. So again, this is just normal 1x1 ribbing where we're knitting and purling. So we're eliminating the shaws. So we're going to take the ones with the shaws on them, purl them like normal, yarn to the back, and knit. Yarn to the front, purl those two together, yarn to the back, and knit. Purl those two, knit the one. So no more shaws. Back to the beginning. We can actually eliminate that. So we're going to go in and purl and knit. And we want to stay loose and bring the first one up and over. This is a purl, so we're going to purl it. And then we're going to bring it, first one up and over. Knit, knit it. Bind the first one off. This one's a purl. We're going to purl. Bring them up and over. Knit. And up and over. nice and loose. All the way around. And that's just going to give you a really nice stretchy bind off. All right, guys, I hope this helps while you're not in class. Feel free to email or call me. I will have my information linked below to the shop. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.